Most men wear their medals on their chests. Liam wore his scars on his soul, buried deep beneath the quiet life of a broke single father trying to afford his daughter's next meal. He didn't want trouble. He didn't want fame. But when a ruthless syndicate targeted the billionaire's only daughter right in front of him, his old instincts took over. In less than 20 seconds, 3 armed men were on the pavement. And before the billionaire could even catch his breath, the savior vanished into the night. Now, the most powerful man in the city is hunting for a ghost. But when he finds him, the tables are going to turn forever. Welcome back to HeartNest Stories. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because today's tale of hidden honor and redemption will leave you breathless. The rain in Chicago had a way of cutting straight through cheap fabric. Liam Carter pulled the collar of his faded canvas jacket up around his neck, keeping his head down as the icy droplets battered the pavement. In his right hand, he held a small, pink-gloved hand. In his left, a plastic grocery bag containing 2 cans of generic soup, a loaf of day-old bread, and a single, bruised apple meant to be a special Friday treat for his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. "Daddy, are we having the apple tonight?" Lily asked, her voice light and cheerful despite the biting cold. She skipped slightly, her bright red boots splashing into a puddle, completely unbothered by the miserable weather. Liam looked down, the harsh glow of a neon diner sign illuminating his sharp jawline, the faint, jagged white scar cutting through his left eyebrow, and the haunted depth of his dark, weary eyes. He forced a warm smile, the kind that reached his eyes only when it came to her. "Tonight's the night, bug," Liam replied, his voice a low, gravelly baritone. "Soup, bread, and half an apple for dessert. How does that sound?" "The bestest," Lily cheered, squeezing his hand tighter. To the casual observer passing by on Michigan Avenue, Liam was just another struggling single father fighting to keep his head above water in a merciless city. They saw the scuffed boots, the tired posture, and the cheap jacket. They saw a man who worked double shifts at a local auto repair shop just to make rent on a cramped, drafty basement apartment. They didn't see the ghost. They didn't know that just 4 years ago, Liam Carter's name was whispered with absolute reverence in classified command centers across the globe. Former Navy SEAL team leader, Master Chief Petty Officer, a man who had operated in the deadest zones of the world, neutralizing high-value threats before governments even acknowledged a war was happening. A man who had taken a bullet to the shoulder, saved a dozen hostages, and walked away from military service with an honorable discharge, a chest full of medals locked away in a rusted ammo can under his bed, and a profound, bone-deep exhaustion for violence. When his wife passed away shortly after Lily's birth, Liam realized his true mission wasn't protecting nations, it was protecting his little girl. He traded the rifle for a wrench, the tactical gear for flannel, and the battlefield for the quiet agony of civilian survival. Meanwhile, a few miles away, in the gleaming glass spire of the Sterling Global Enterprises Tower, billionaire industrialist Arthur Sterling stared out the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office. Below him, the city sprawled like a circuit board of flashing lights. But Arthur wasn't looking at the city. He was looking at a framed photograph on his mahogany desk. It was a picture of his 22-year-old daughter, Chloe Sterling, laughing as she graduated from university. Chloe was Arthur's entire world. Since the passing of his wife, she was the last piece of light he had left. His phone buzzed sharply on the desk. Arthur picked it up immediately. "Report," Arthur commanded, his voice cold and commanding. "Mr. Sterling," came the tense voice of his head of security, Marcus. "Miss Chloe's car is leaving the charity gala downtown now. We have 2 security vehicles trailing her, but traffic on the lower loop is heavily congested due to the construction and the storm. We're monitoring her route closely. Keep her close, Marcus," Arthur warned, a knot of unease tightening in his chest. "There's been too much chatter from the Vane syndicate lately. They know she sits on the board of our defense tech division. I don't like it." "Understood, sir. We're on it." Back on the ground, Liam and Lily were nearing their apartment building when Lily suddenly stopped, tugging hard on Liam's coat. "Look, Daddy, that kitty is shivering under the bench." Lily pointed toward a shadowy alleyway off the main street, where a tiny, soaked calico kitten was huddled beneath a rusted park bench, mewing miserably. Liam sighed softly. He didn't have money for vet bills, and rent was due in 3 days. But looking into Lily's wide, pleading hazel eyes, eyes that mirrored her mother's. He knew resistance was futile. "All right, Bug. Let's go see if he's friendly. But stay right behind me, okay?" Liam guided Lily toward the mouth of the alley. As they stepped into the darker, narrow corridor, the ambient city noise faded, replaced by the heavy patter of rain echoing off brick walls. Liam crouched down, extending a cautious hand toward the kitten. Suddenly, the harsh screech of tires echoed from the adjacent boulevard, followed by the terrifying crunch of metal on metal and shouting voices. Liam's entire body went rigid. The civilian slump vanished in a fraction of a second. His muscle memory, honed by thousands of hours of live-fire combat, reasserted itself with terrifying precision. His eyes darted up, scanning the perimeter, assessing escape routes, threats, and cover. "Stay here, Lily. Do not move an inch," Liam ordered, his tone shifting instantly from gentle father to iron-willed commander. There was no room for argument in his voice. Lily nodded wide-eyed, pressing herself flat against the brick wall. Liam sprinted out of the alley toward the main street. Just 50 yards away, chaos had erupted. A massive black SUV had broadsided a sleek white luxury sedan, pinning it against a concrete pillar beneath a highway overpass. Smoke billowed from the crumpled hood of the sedan. 3 masked men clad in tactical black gear had already jumped out of the SUV. Wielding heavy crowbars and sidearms, they smashed the windows of the trapped luxury sedan. A piercing scream cut through the rain. Inside the wrecked sedan, Chloe Sterling fought frantically against her jammed seatbelt as one of the masked assailants reached inside, grabbing her by the jacket collar and dragging her violently toward the door. "Get her out. The boss wants her secured before the bodyguards arrive," one thug barked over the radio comms clipped to his vest. "Help! Somebody help me!" Chloe screamed, thrashing against her captor. The 2 security vehicles trailing her were trapped half a block back behind a massive city bus that had stalled in the gridlocked traffic. Marcus and his team were sprinting on foot, but they were still 30 seconds away. 30 seconds was an eternity. Liam arrived at the scene in a flash. He didn't hesitate. He didn't weigh the odds. He saw a terrified young woman being abducted, and his moral compass, forged in code and duty, locked onto the objective. "Hey, drop her." Liam's voice cut through the storm like thunder. The lead assailant holding Chloe paused, turning his head back with a sneer. "Piss off, old man, or you're next." He didn't get to finish the sentence. Liam closed the distance in 3 explosive strides. Utilizing a classic CQB, close quarters battle, disarm technique, Liam seized the thug's wrist, twisted it with bone-shattering torque, and forced the man to release his grip on Chloe. As the assailant shrieked in agony, Liam pivoted, using the man's momentum to hurl his 200-pound frame directly into the second approaching thug, sending both crashing hard into the wet asphalt. The third assailant, realizing the situation had gone sideways, drew a suppressed pistol from his waistband, leveling it squarely at Liam's chest. "You're dead, hero," the gunman snarled, his finger tightening on the trigger. Time seemed to slow down to a crawl. Liam's pupils contracted. In his mind, the raindrops falling around them became individual beads suspended in air. Years of battlefield conditioning took over. As the hammer began to fall, Liam stepped inside the shooter's arc, deflected the barrel upward with his left palm, while driving his right elbow with brutal force directly into the gunman's throat. The pistol clattered onto the wet pavement. The gunman collapsed, gasping desperately for air before passing out cold. It had taken exactly 14 seconds. Liam turned back toward the wrecked sedan. Chloe Sterling was slumped against the passenger seat, trembling violently, her eyes wide with shock as she stared up at her savior. In the dim amber glow of the streetlights, she saw the sharp jawline, the wet hair plastered to his forehead, and that distinct scar over his eyebrow. "Are you hurt?" Liam asked, his voice steady, devoid of panic. I don't think so," Chloe whispered, her voice shaking uncontrollably. Who are you? How did you do that?" Sirens began wailing in the distance. The approaching police cruisers and the frantic security detail finally breaking through the gridlock. Liam looked down the street and saw Marcus and the security team rounding the corner, weapons drawn, rushing toward the crash site. Liam knew what happened when cops and corporate security got involved. Questions, reports, background checks, bureaucracy. The very things he had spent years running from to keep Lily safe. He couldn't afford to be found. He couldn't risk anyone digging into his past and connecting him to the classified Black Ops missions that still lingered in government archives. "You're safe now. They're coming," Liam said quietly. "Wait. At least let me know your name." "My father will." Chloe started, reaching out a trembling hand to grab his sleeve. But by the time Marcus and his armed guards slid to a halt beside the wrecked sedan, breathless and weapons raised, the alleyway was completely empty. The savior was gone. Arthur Sterling paced the length of his private study like a caged tiger. The mahogany desk was littered with security reports, dashcam footage, and freeze-frame stills captured from traffic cameras near the accident site. "Explain it to me again, Marcus," Arthur demanded, stopping in his tracks to glare at his head of security. Marcus swallowed hard, standing at attention. "Sir, we've combed every foot of digital footage in a 3-block radius. The initial reports from Miss Chloe indicate a lone civilian intervened. He neutralized 3 highly trained operatives of the Vane Syndicate in under 15 seconds using elite tactical combat moves. Hand-to-hand combat, rapid disarmament, lethal efficiency." "A civilian?" Arthur scoffed, walking over to the large monitor on the wall where a high-resolution freeze frame of Liam's face, captured by a traffic light camera, was paused. The rain-soaked face, the piercing dark eyes, and the distinct scar over the left eyebrow were starkly visible. "Does this look like a regular civilian to you, Marcus? Look at his stance. Look at how he pivoted his weight during the disarm. That's standard naval special warfare close-quarters combat protocol. That man is a ghost. We ran facial recognition through local and federal databases, Mr. Sterling," Marcus admitted quietly. "Nothing came up. No criminal record. No active military registry matching that face. It's either scrubbed clean at the highest levels, or it doesn't exist." Arthur stared at the screen, a fierce mixture of profound gratitude and intense curiosity burning in his chest. That man had saved his only daughter from an assassination attempt orchestrated by his bitterest corporate rival, Victor Vane. If not for that mysterious stranger, Chloe would be dead. Arthur Sterling was a man who believed in 2 absolute rules. Debts must always be paid, and loyalty must be rewarded beyond measure. "Find him," Arthur said softly, his voice dropping to an ironclad whisper. "Use every resource Sterling Global possesses. Tap private satellites. Check every medical clinic. Cross-reference local school registries for anyone matching the description of a man with a young child. I want to know who he is, where he lives, and what it will take to bring him to me." Meanwhile, miles away in a modest, warm apartment illuminated by a single flickering floor lamp, Liam sat at a small wooden kitchen table. A bowl of hot soup sat untouched in front of him. Lily was fast asleep in the next room, curled up under a patchwork quilt with the rescued calico kitten purring softly against her chest. Liam stared down at his scarred knuckles. The adrenaline had long since faded, leaving behind a dull, familiar ache in his shoulder. He knew the Vane Syndicate didn't leave loose ends. If they had targeted Chloe Sterling in a public hit, they would eventually figure out who wrecked their extraction team. And if they traced the intervention back to a rugged man with a distinct scar, they would come looking for him. And worse, they might find Lily. Liam stood up, walking silently over to his bedroom closet. Reaching up to the very top shelf, behind a stack of old textbooks and spare winter coats, he pulled down a heavy, dust-covered steel ammo box. He popped the latches. Inside lay his old service revolver, a pristine tactical folding knife, a stack of encrypted flash drives, and a faded photograph of his old SEAL team, smiling outside a barracks in San Diego. He traced the edge of the photograph with his thumb. He had thought he left that life behind forever. But danger had a way of hunting you down, no matter how deep you buried your past. 2 days later, the search came to an end. Arthur Sterling sat in the back of a black armored Maybach as it rolled to a slow stop in front of a rundown apartment complex in a working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. Marcus sat in the passenger seat, checking a tablet. "We found him, sir," Marcus said, turning around. "Name's Liam Carter. Works the night shift at a local garage. Lives in Unit 4B with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. No criminal record, but, well, sir, look at his military discharge papers. They're heavily redacted. High-level classification. SEAL Team 6 veteran. Operational history classified under presidential executive order. Arthur's eyebrows arched in surprise. A Master Chief? That explains the absolute clinical efficiency of the takedown. Arthur opened the car door and stepped out into the crisp afternoon air. Come with me. Sir, are you sure this is wise? He's clearly trying to stay off the grid. Marcus! Arthur interrupted firmly, buttoning his tailored overcoat. A man like that doesn't want money. But he deserves respect. And more importantly, he needs to know that my family is his family now. Back in Unit 4B, Liam was kneeling on the floor helping Lily pack her small pink backpack for school when a sharp, authoritative knock echoed at his front door. Liam froze. His instincts, dormant for just a few days, snapped back online with terrifying clarity. He gently pushed Lily behind him, his hand sliding instinctively toward the tactical knife tucked inside his waistband. Stay behind the couch, bug, Liam whispered, his eyes locked on the battered wooden door. He approached slowly, planting his right foot firmly to brace for a dynamic entry, his hand hovering over the latch. With a sharp twist, he yanked the door open wide, ready for whatever threat lay beyond. Instead of masked syndicate hitmen holding submachine guns, Liam found himself staring at two men in immaculate bespoke suits standing in the dimly lit hallway. At the center stood an older, distinguished man with silver-streaked hair, sharp, intelligent eyes, and an expression of profound, overwhelming gratitude. Behind them, standing at the perimeter of the hallway, were four tactical security specialists in dark suits, maintaining a professional, protective perimeter. Liam didn't blink. His posture remained coiled, ready to strike. You have the wrong door. Arthur Sterling looked past Liam into the modest living room, seeing the worn furniture, the crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator, and little peering hazel eyes peeking out from behind the sofa. Then Arthur looked back into Liam's hardened, unyielding eyes. I don't think I do, Master Chief Carter, Arthur said smoothly, stepping forward with his hands open and palms visible to show he posed no threat. My name is Arthur Sterling. Liam's jaw tightened. He didn't drop his guard. Never heard of you. Now step away from the door. You saved my daughter's life 2 nights ago, Arthur continued, his voice steady and respectful. You walked into a war zone with zero hesitation, neutralized 3 armed mercenaries in 14 seconds, and vanished into the rain without asking for a single dime of reward. Liam stared at him in silence, neither confirming nor denying the accusation. I was just walking by. Men like you don't just walk by, Arthur said, stepping slightly closer, his tone softening with deep earnestness. I know who you are, Liam. I know what you gave to this country. And I know what you're doing now, working a graveyard shift at an auto shop just to give that little girl behind the couch a decent life. Arthur reached inside his coat pocket. Liam's muscles tensed, ready to intercept any sudden movement. But Arthur merely pulled out a heavy, embossed black leather folder and placed it gently on the small wooden table just inside the doorway. What is this? Liam asked, his voice like grinding stones. It's a clean slate, Arthur said quietly. The Vane Syndicate won't bother you ever again. My security team took care of their leadership structure this morning. Furthermore, Sterling Global Enterprises is acquiring the auto repair shop where you work. We're naming you Chief Director of Corporate Logistics with a salary that will ensure Lily never has to worry about an apple or a pair of boots ever again. Liam stared at the folder, then back up at the billionaire. For years, Liam had lived in the shadows, believing that his past was something to hide, something that made him a danger to the people he loved. He had thought that keeping his head down was the only way to survive. I didn't do it for a job, Mr. Sterling, Liam said, his voice finally losing its razor edge, replaced by a quiet, grounded dignity. I did it because nobody deserves to be preyed upon. Arthur smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. I know, son. That's why you're a hero. But heroes shouldn't have to live in the shadows. Arthur turned slowly toward the door, pausing just before stepping into the stairwell. He glanced back over his shoulder. Chloe wants to meet you too. Both of you. Whenever you're ready. As the elevator doors chimed and the billionaire's entourage faded down the hall, Liam stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching the empty corridor. From behind the couch, little Lily stepped out, clutching her stuffed rabbit in one arm and the calico kitten in the other. She looked up at her father, her big hazel eyes shining with innocent curiosity. Daddy? Was that a king? she asked softly. Liam looked down at his daughter, a genuine, unburdened smile finally breaking across his rugged face. He knelt down, scooping her up into his arms, feeling the comforting warmth of her embrace. "No bug," Liam whispered, kissing the top of her head as the morning sunlight finally broke through the basement window, casting a warm golden glow across the room. "Just an old friend. Thank you for tuning in to another journey with HeartNest stories. If this tale of courage, sacrifice, and redemption touched your heart, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next adventure. Click the video on your screen right now for another unforgettable story. Until next time, keep your heart open and your stories alive.